My name's Philip Roberts. I am the lead PV designer for One Planet Solar and Wind based here in Terre Haute, Indiana. I've been designing PV systems and wind systems and power plants for a little over 13 years now. And a little bit about myself, my background. I come from an aviation background and worked in that field for many years. But my family has been harvesting from Mother Nature for quite a while. My grandparents were the owners of Payson Brothers Hardware Store, and they started doing solar thermal systems back in the 60s. I'm the youngest of three boys, and we started our first system and designed our first system actually in the Florida Keys, believe it or not, in 2004. Since then, we have launched three different locations. Primarily, this location in Terre Haute covers Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. So without further ado, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover some of the main questions surrounding solar energy. One, the development stage, the different types of systems that we design for homeowners. And then we're going to basically have a brief pictures of different types of systems. We're going to talk about battery bank storage. We're going to talk a little bit about utility policies and kind of move on from there. And then at the very end, I'd love to answer any questions you guys may have. So starting out the slideshow, in 1931, not long before he died, Thomas Edison told his friend Henry Ford and Harvey Firestone, "I'd put my money on the sun and solar energy. What a source of power. I hope we don't have to wait until oil and coal run out before we tackle that." Thomas Edison. So, the history of solar energy or photovoltaic PV systems, PV stands for photovoltaic, kind of dates back quite a long time ago, and a lot of people don't realize that. The acceptance of photovoltaic as a power source really didn't occur until 1905 when Albert Einstein offered his explanation of the photovoltaic effect, the PV effect. Continuing into the 1930s, despite its very low efficiency and high production costs, scientists even then realized its potential. Now, in the early 1950s, Bell Laboratory began to search for a dependable way to power remote communication systems. Bell scientists actually discovered that silicon, sand, the second most abundant mineral on the planet Earth, was sensitive to light, and when treated with certain impurities, generated a substantial voltage. That's very important. Sand is the second most abundant mineral on the planet Earth. And currently in our industry, most of the solar panels are still made of silicon. We add boron and phosphorus, those two impurities, to create that photovoltaic effect. Now, the funny part is, over the years designing and installing systems, I come across systems that were installed in the 70s, 80s, 90s, off-grid systems that have been there harvesting for years. I currently even have solar panels on my property that I installed years ago that had very, very low efficiency, and they're rather expensive. So by 1954, Bell developed a silicon-based cell that achieved 6% efficiency. Today, solar panels can achieve up to 25%, and believe it or not, even more. We've been working with the engineers have really done a great job on changing up those impurities, also changing up the tempered glass that actually covers those solar cells. And during that development stage, we have found and used different processes that were developed over the years. And those processes have played a role for us designers, meaning cost has dropped substantially and the efficiency has gone up. And of course, we got monocrystalline panels, polycrystalline panels, different types of cell structures that are used in our industry that allows us to harvest with these panels for a very long time. Most of the solar panels that we install have a 25-year warranty on the solar panels. Most of the inverters we install now have a 25-year warranty. Kind of moving forward, I get a lot of questions. One of the first things we do when a homeowner calls us is we kind of explain to them the three main applications for solar. And primarily, the three main different types of solar we install are grid tie systems or grid utility connected systems. And then you have off-grid systems, which is complete sustainability, no utility, no city infrastructure, just complete sustainability. And then we have systems called grid tie with battery bank backup or grid tie with generator backup. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is, as we start working with these utilities, it's very important that we not only have a good communication dialogue with the utilities, but we also want to make sure that the line guys who are out there servicing this infrastructure are safe. And during that process, over the years, one of the major safety guidelines for grid-tied inverters is that these inverters have to desync themselves if the utility blacks out. So if a homeowner's harvesting on their property, and let's just say their utility is Duke Energy, and then Duke Energy has a blackout, one of the things we do not want to do is, of course, backfeed voltage through the infrastructure to hurt a line guy or girl working on that transformer, right? So grid tie systems have really worked closely with engineers, with policymakers, to make sure that all of the appropriate NEC codes and UL listings are put in place to where any grid tie inverter that we install in North America automatically desyncs itself whenever it senses no power from the utility. That is the only hiccup when it comes to grid tie systems, is if the utility locks out, your solar array locks out. Hence, the use of backup power through a combustible Generac generator or some sort of generator or battery bank backup. So the first one I'm going to discuss is grid tie systems. Grid tie systems are predominantly the #1 system that our company and most of my colleagues install. We work closely with the utility, with the communication, what the homeowner's receiving, how big the system is, and of course, we work with the utility whenever it comes to their own governing policies, whether it's net metering or net billing. So grid tie systems is actually a utility connected system, also called grid connected or grid tied systems. They are for homes, commercial buildings that are connected to an electrical utility. So whether it's Park County REMC, Duke Energy, Win Energy, Hoosier Energy, ComEd, Ameren over in Illinois, all of those utilities that we work with all have their own policies, pretty similar, but their own policies surrounding how we can connect to their grid. Now, these systems are designed to provide a modest part to all of the building's total electricity needs. Just to give you an idea, I would say about 85% of our customers who harvest and buy their power from Duke Energy cover 100% of their power through their solar energy systems. And that's all done through not only harvesting there on the property, but also the policies surrounding that particular utility, which in this case, Duke Energy has the best net metering policy in the nation. It's 1-for-1, a kilowatt for kilowatt. So a lot of my homeowners sometimes ask me exactly how does it work? And that's a great question because, sometimes thinking about solar and harvesting from the sun and how that plays a role with your offset of that particular building, whether it's a commercial building, whether it's a university, or whether it's a residential building, kind of picture this. Say we're harvesting 10,000 watts up on your roof or on your property. But at that particular moment, you have 5,000 watts of loads in your house. we are, of course, covering that 5,000 watts of loads in your house with your solar that you're producing on your property. But that other 5,000 watts has to go somewhere, right? So it gets backfed through your infrastructure, and believe it or not, it's being sold to your closest neighbor who's consuming power by Duke Energy. So Duke Energy's policy is pretty simple. Through your daytime harvesting, you're going to cover your daytime loads. Any excess, we're going to send back through the infrastructure, up through the power lines, and it's going to go to your next door neighbor, and Duke Energy is going to sell that free, clean, maintenance-free power that they didn't have to come up with to your next door neighbor at retail price. That's retail price is, of course, what you pay Duke Energy for your power. But they're crediting my homeowner who's harvesting on their property. They're going to credit that excess power through the meter base at retail price. So when Mother Nature or the sun lays her head down to rest, through our daytime harvesting, not only did we cover our nighttime or daytime usage, but we also have drummed up enough credit in most cases to cover our nighttime consumption. And then when the homeowner wakes up in the morning and the sun wakes up in the morning, that process starts all over again. Now, the good thing about net metering policies that play a role with Duke Energy customers, and it's somewhat of the same with most utilities, any of that excess power that we generate at the end of the month, meaning if the homeowner harvested 2,000 kilowatt hours, but the system produced 3,000 kilowatt hours, we actually roll in to the next month with a credit of 1,000 kilowatt hours as a credit for the homeowner. Now with Duke Energy, that's an ever-revolving rollover, so that never ends. So kind of the goal for most of my homeowners that tie into a utility that has true net metering is that excess credit. We got 9 beautiful high-producing months here in this region of the United States. Our 3 low-producing months, of course, are December, January, February. It's our winter season. You know, it gets dark at 5:30 in the evening. The snow sometimes covers the panels. So we rack up those credits through those 9 high-producing months, and then we use those up through our 3 low-producing months. So that is basically the type of system that we primarily design with One Planet Solar. Now, advances in solar power electronics make it relatively easy to connect to solar electric systems in the utility. And really, there are some policies and some things that we really have to abide by, which is very important. You know, that communication dialogue and that relationship between solar integrators and contractors like myself and the utility and line guys and engineers is very, very important to us. Just as important as energy management is for my homeowners. Now, the energy generated by such a system is first used within your home, like I said. Now, that surplus power is, of course, like I said, pushed onto the utility wires. In many states, the U.S. local utilities have that net metering. Now, net metering was established in the 70s to govern all utilities to either buy back or credit you any excess power you generate on your home or business. Now, that net metering policy is primarily focused for larger retailers. Co-ops are exempt from that, but normally co-ops abide by whatever policy they purchase their power from. So co-ops actually don't generate their own power. They actually purchase that power from a larger utility and then disperse that within their grid locations. Now, which this it allows the homeowner to for their meter to actually spin backwards if it's an actual analog meter and not a digital bidirectional meter, which is very cool. You know, today at my home, I've had a system since it was formerly PSI. Duke Energy was formerly PSI. And, you know, throughout the day, you can physically walk up to my meter and see my meter smoke backwards all day. And the reason for that is it's allowing me to not only cogen on my property, but rack up those credits. Now, this electricity is being pushed back onto the grid. When this happened, the utility either buys the electricity from the homeowners or they credit it, and either way. Now, moving on, one of the design changes that have really hit us just really in the last 7 years has been off-grid applications. One of the things that we talk about all the time is as designers is energy storage, batteries. Really, for the last 20 years, we have our battery bank technologies somewhat remained stagnant. It's been pretty much the same batteries, lead acid batteries, old school batteries, that really take up the real estate the size of Texas in a homeowner's house or a commercial building. They're heavy batteries. They have to be serviced. They let off gaseous vapors that we have to tend to, so on and so forth. But what's been wonderful to see is the evolution of the electric vehicle. As these electric vehicles come out, one of the beautiful things that we've seen is the integration of technology into our technology. And, with electric vehicles like the Chevy Volt, Tesla is huge, Nissan Leaf, they really take these young engineers and they put their minds together and they come up with some wonderful storage applications that have now trickled down into our industry. So we're going to talk a little bit about that following these next few slides about batteries and where they're heading. But off-grid. Off-grid is one of my favorite things to design. I am a gentleman that not only lives grid tied, but the majority of my home is completely off-grid. I primarily leave Duke Energy on my property just to use them and equalize the battery bank when need be. Off-grid homes are basically autonomous. They do not rely on municipal water supply, sewer, natural gas, electrical power grid, or similar utility services. A true off-grid house is able to operate completely independent of a traditional public utility service. Utilizing solar array and battery banks, in a lot of cases, hybrid systems. Hybrid systems, which I love designing, is solar and wind, and of course, battery for storage. Then we come out of that battery, which is in DC direct current format, and we go into an inverter, which inverts it to AC grid interactive voltage 240 or 120 volts that can be used in your home. Now, a kind of interesting statistic is on the 13th of April in 2015, USA Today reported that there were some 280,000 families living off grid. A figure that has jumped quite a bit, and 33% is actually a little bit more now. A year for a decade, and cited Richard Perez, the publisher of Home Power magazine, as the source. Assuming the same rate of growth, there will be around 1 million off-grid households in the United States by late 2018. Now, because many third world citizens have never had the chance to go on grid, current estimates are that there are probably a little bit more than 3 billion people that live off grid worldwide. This is amazing. And as you know, I think it's very important as the technology changes and pricing has really come down. This is going to give homeowners a lot of options. And to be honest with you, the majority of the off-grid applications that we design is, primarily remote telecommunication, man caves, hunting lodges, and then sometimes we'll develop a system for homeowners that is grid tie, but yet we will actually take a lot of their 110 loads, their soft loads, okay, your lights and alarm system, TV, refrigerator, we'll actually take those loads completely off grid. So there's several different avenues and approaches that we can take, but one of the things that have really happened with us is the evolution of the battery bank and battery bank storage technology that has played a role for us. Now, moving forward, the third system that is predominantly installed in North America is what's called grid tie with battery bank backup or generator backup. Now, again, kind of setting backwards a little bit, one of the things we did discuss, the only hiccup with grid tie systems is, of course, if the utility blacks out, the solar array will actually lock itself out so we don't pass voltage back through the infrastructure. Now, homeowners ask me all the time, what is it that I can do, if that's the case, for me to have power during this blackout? And it's a great question. It's a question that gets, asked all the time. Well, one of the current avenues and approach that my homeowners take is they'll go grid tie with like a standby Generac generator backup, or if they truly want energy storage and budget is there to address battery backup, well, then we'll use a grid tie system with batteries. Now, the good thing is within the what we call the BOSS of system, the balancing of system, we can safely keep all of that power that's being generated from the Generac generator or standard generator through the automatic transfer switch, or through the battery bank and the inverter charger that we're using. So that way we keep all of that backup power positioned right there on the property, and make sure that we do not backfeed any power to hurt a line guy or girl servicing the lines. And that's very important. We've lost way too many line guys in the past from Farmer Bob that hooks up his gas powered generator, he fires it up, and he forgets to turn off the 200 amp main that's at his load center, and he doesn't realize that that power from his generator is being backfed through those overhead transformer lines, and there could potentially be a line guy or girl working and servicing that, and the last thing we want to do is cause harm or death to an individual. So NEC code, UL listings, all have played a role in the pioneering of these type of systems that we develop and install in North America. Now, if you experience frequent power outage, but want to keep your connection to the utility grid, a grid tie battery backup system or generator backup system is the thing for you. Just simply is. Although batteries will add cost and maintenance to a grid tie photovoltaic system, the peace of mind is gained by knowing your alarm system, essential loads, your meeting your refrigerator, all of those things, what we call critical loads, will be covered. And that's very important. Some of the things that we talk about with homeowners when we sit down with them is simply, what type of loads do you want to cover during an outage? And in a lot of cases, my homeowners aren't going to have a big party during an outage. They pretty much handle things the way a lot of people handle things, and that's you go into a room, and if you don't have any type of backup power, you light a candle if it's at night, and you just kind of sit there and you kind of wait for the power to come back on. For us, what we like to do is we like to cover, if not all the loads in the commercial building or homeowner's house, but some of the critical loads. And what I mean by critical loads is those loads that you critically need, meaning you don't need your AC unit. That's not a critical load. But you do need heat, right? If it's during the wintertime. That's very important. You don't want your pipes to freeze. You want to be able to stay warm. In a lot of cases, we hope that the homeowner has a fireplace or whatnot. But you also have a refrigerator. You want to be able to, keep your refrigerator so all that meat doesn't get spoiled. That is one of the main reasons why homeowners want backup power. So the three main systems on the solar side that we design are grid tie systems, simply utilizing the utility as your storage, or grid tie battery bank backup or generator backup. And one of the main systems that everybody's interested always, and they ask about, is off-grid. Now, one of the things I've learned over the years, design systems, is most people in North America have a footprint the size of Texas. It doesn't even go right along with the national standard. So that being the case, my average homeowner, believe it or not, on the PV side, just on the grid tie side is 20 plus panels. We do systems all the time that's 40 to 48 and 50 plus panels. Backup, that's up to you. That's going to be either a battery backup or generator backup. So as we kind of move forward, one of the great things about what's happening is, Generac actually and big power playing individuals in our industry for backup power has really joined us on the green collar side and offering a non-combustible alternative to homeowners. Generac Generator actually came out with their new Generac Powerwall battery bank. It uses lithium phosphate batteries. It has a 10 plus year warranty. We can actually hang this battery bank up. It's aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't take up a lot of real estate. And this is kind of, one of the companies that have done a tremendous job on bringing energy storage into our sector. The other big player, which I'm sure everybody is aware of, is Tesla. Tesla have been a wonderful innovator in our industry, not only for the electric vehicle side, but in the process, Tesla came out with what's called the Powerwall. Now, this was very exciting because the Powerwall was really the first lithium phosphate battery system that was one very aesthetically pleasing. You know, the real estate that a lot of these older battery banks took up was very immense. And we in the process of working closely with utilities, one of the things that we really always pay attention to is climate controlled areas, how we're doing the tie-in, aesthetically pleasing the homeowner along with the utilities, and Tesla has played a role in that. And and that's very exciting because again, we look for battery banks and battery and energy storage to play a huge role into the future as we start designing systems. So even though right now the majority that my colleagues and I design are grid tie systems, as policies change and as net metering slowly diminishes, we want to make sure that we keep as much power on that property as much as possible, right? So really, as the future moves forward, one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to make sure that we don't backfeed any power through the infrastructure and that power is maintained there on the property. And that's simply going to be done through control mechanisms. It's going to be done through cloud management systems, energy management systems like consumption and production CTs, to where we can in real time have a complete understanding of what the customer is producing and what the customer is consuming at that given moment at a revenue grade. That way the system automatically makes the adjustments of going grid, off grid, off grid. So it's very exciting. And one of the things that's developed in our industry that's been really helpful for me as a designer along with my colleagues is the integration of monitoring. One of the beautiful things about where we're at right now is here at my home office, I've got 5 designers that spend all day designing systems, and then we have our technicians out in the field. We want to be able to make sure that the solar energy system is doing what it's supposed to do. Now, years ago, that was a little odd. When you have your average homeowner, 20 plus panels, and the homeowner calls you up and they're like, Phil, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if I used more power this week or this month compared to last year, but can you send a guy out just to take a look at my system? We had no monitoring back there. So we had to go and send a technician, roll a truck out to the homeowner's house, of course, and then take our multimeter and test each individual panel along with the BOSS system, the balancing of system, the solar inverter, all of the things that's tied to that particular power plant. Took a lot of time. Took a lot of resources. But as time went on and the use of internet, cloud management systems, we have now the ability to where we can, from our home office, along with the homeowner as they're traveling via their smartphone, they can literally hit an app on their phone and they can zoom in and actually see what their power plant is producing, what they're consuming, what they're producing, and then what their net is. But the most important side of that is we have the ability to dissect a power plant remotely. So with that being the case, what it's done is it's opened up a whole other level playing field between myself and the homeowner, along with my integrators, to make sure that that system is operating at what its design specs are. And then if there ever is an issue with that power plant, we can address it and then go straight to the problem at hand. So modular based monitoring really started playing a role for us. Now in the process of modular based monitoring, it's also enabled us to work right along with cities and states that have what's called an SREX program. SREC stands for Solar Renewable Energy Credits. This is very important. Illinois just launched the most aggressive SREC program in the nation. And essentially what that is our federal government mandated that 25% of our power has to come from renewable energy by 2025. It's created a marketplace, and it's exciting. And what it does is simply my homeowners basically have the ability to sell their environmental offset rights to their system to a utility that's not out there building wind farms and solar farms like Duke Energy, ComEd, Ameren, a lot of the larger utilities, even though Ameren and ComEd are part of this adjustable block program in a state like Illinois. But it gives them the opportunity, and the administrators of these programs, the opportunity to make sure that the system is doing what it's supposed to do. And that's made things incredibly easy for us to get homeowners involved in these type of programs, to make sure that on the federal side, because my homeowners receive a federal 26% tax credit on all these systems, that they have enough information to make sure that this system is doing what it's supposed to do. So battery bank evolution has played a solid role. And as you can see in this particular picture, you can kind of see how the power wall is hung up, the power cell from Generac. It doesn't take up a lot of real estate, and this is kind of a standard homeowner install in their garage. Now, reasons to go solar. I can talk all day long on it, but some of the 10 biggest reasons: drastically reduce or even eliminate your electrical bill. This is something that we talk about all the time. Homeowners get solar for various reasons. Sometimes if a homeowner comes to me and they got a big footprint, meaning a huge average kilowatt hour usage, they may want us to design a system that's just going to strictly offset maybe 50% of their bill, maybe 65, maybe 75% of their bill. And if you're blessed and you have a utility to where we can cover 100%, then we will certainly do so. But one of the main reasons is to drastically reduce or even eliminate your electrical bill. Now, you earn a great return on your investment. This is very important. Payback is always a question my customers ask me all the time. If it's Duke Energy or a true retailer, a larger retailer, payback on our system is way under 10 years. And that's something that a lot of my homeowners look for. They want to know what the energy savings are going to be. They're already allocating a certain amount of money each month to pay your utility bill. So our homeowners actually kind of constructively look at this in a different format. They look at, all right, I'm currently, renting my power for 30 days from a utility. I'm spending anywhere from $150 to $200 to $300 for 30 days worth of power use. Why not put that towards that $200-300 towards something with a payback, something I can own, right? And that's one of the most gravitational forces for our homeowners, believe it or not, is the fact that they're already allocating a certain budget each month for their power from a utility. They just, whether it's through financing or some of our financing programs we offer to the homeowners, and we find that a homeowner's monthly payment to their utility is usually less usually more than what their monthly payment is towards one of our financing programs. We had a customer just the other day that their monthly was roughly $80 less than what they were giving Duke Energy for them to cover 100%. So those are all different ways to look at it. Now, one of the things that you're doing is, of course, locking in your energy pricing. You kind of protect yourself against rising energy cost, right? And that's very important. As you know, some utilities with it's been a very tough year in 2020 for not only business owners and homeowners, but also utilities. Utilities, it's been really tough for utilities. And as our closest utility here to us, our large utility, which is Duke Energy, just announced a 19% increase in their utility bill. Plus, they're going to be, tacking on a little bit more onto that due to the COVID-19 properties that have been put in place for some homeowners that just haven't been able to pay their electrical bill. And that's been taking a big hit on Duke Boys, Duke Energy, and other utilities also. So locking in your energy prices and pulling yourself away from rising energy costs, because once you buy a solar array or you start harvesting from Mother Nature, whether it's wind power, solar power, you've now locked in your energy prices. Increased property value. This is something that's, very important to us. It's one of the fringe benefits with solar, and a lot of homeowners don't realize it, but pretty much the consensus is every dollar we save you is roughly a $20 added value to your system, your property, without property tax increase. Your property tax exempt from all renewable energy systems that are installed in the state of Indiana. Now, believe it or not, that's really primarily most states. Your property tax exempt, meaning if you install a wind power system or solar energy system on your property, your appraiser cannot raise your property tax because of that. So your property tax exempt. It's not like adding a swimming pool to your property. Now, boost U.S. energy independence. Very important. It's our utilities and all the utilities I work with. Believe it or not, the line guys, the engineers that work with them are amazing individuals, and it's been a blessing for me over 14 years now to work with I think roughly 38 different utilities. Every single one of those utilities I work with are very hardworking individuals. Line guys go out and weather elements that you would never find me in. Boosting U.S. energy independence is really something that we're going to see more and more of into the future. Number 6, this is really important to me. The green collar side, the renewable energy sector, is one of the largest rapid growing energy sectors and job creating sectors in the world. There is really no other, business sector other than really the organic food market that we've seen such a fast, rapid increase in trend. The jobs created are immense, as everybody knows, and I'm sure you've all seen them. We've got wind farms, solar farms going up left and right. We've got utilities putting in wind farms, solar farms. One of the things I work closely with Duke Energy and the engineers over them. One of the reasons why Duke Energy puts in a lot of solar farms is, return on investment. To add 5-6 megawatts of coal power plant power would take anywhere from 3 to 5 years, and of course, millions upon millions of dollars, and infrastructure change-ups, and environmental consequences. So what these utilities have found out is they can install a 3 megawatt solar power plant in 3 months, and have one person manning that power plant. And they have a payback of 3 years, because commercial entities like Duke Energy that are for profit, they get the Fed 26% tax credit, which they need that, and then they get 100% depreciation of the cost of the system. So it's one of those situations to where they've learned that not only does it help with peak demand offsets, that late evening peak demand hit that a lot of utilities receive, meaning homeowners get off work, it's 5, they get home, they eat dinner, and come around that 6 o'clock to the time that they go to sleep, there's a lot of power being consumed because people are home, and that's what we call peak demand. Now, peak demand can hit during the day, don't get me wrong, But as a norm in North America, that usually hits in the evening time for a lot of utilities. So that helps. And it also helps the economy. You know, me as a local business owner and somebody who's been here in the Wabash Valley, and my family's been doing business here a little over 120 years. My guys, my line guys, my designers, and the company as a whole. When I buy concrete, I buy local. When I buy my fittings, when I buy my trailers, when I buy my vehicles, when I purchase gas, when I buy load centers, all of which is all bought locally, and that's very important to us because one, we can keep the economy going at a local level, but also we can create jobs. And it's been wonderful to be a part of that job creation. At One Planet Solar, we've been taking interns for, I think, roughly for the last 9 years. And a lot of them come from Indiana State University and Rose-Hulman. My recent Rose graduated with a master's in engineering, and then came to work for us and wanted to learn the renewable energy industry. And AJ worked for us for about a year. I taught him how to design systems, how to install the systems, incorporate what he's learned, and incorporate our technology. And after his 1 year of internship was up, we got him a job in Texas, working for a renewable energy company over there, doing what he loves to do. And that's been wonderful to be a part of. Now, protect the environment. Boy, I tell you, I'm an environmentalist. One of the things that is very important to my wife and I, as parents, is when we're parents of two boys. I got a 17-year-old, which, by the way, just started working for our company this year. Very proud of that. And I got a 12-year-old son. We want to make sure that we continue to practice sustainability practices, not only on our own home, but to make sure that we leave our planet Earth to the next generation better than what we started. Now, we're failing there. Not necessarily my family, but just as a whole, as a country as a whole. We're failing there. And one of the things that solar and wind power and renewable energy does do is, as you know, it has a tremendous environmental offset to our planet. And we actually talk about that with our homeowners. We talk about how many trees is planting, how many miles is saving driving in your vehicle, how much we're eliminating CO2 and carbon dioxide from being released. And believe it or not, we talk about water, water resource. In a lot of regions of the United States, especially along the West Coast area, Nevada, we're DEFCON 10 when it comes to fresh water resource, right? And one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't understand is that solar power has a huge impact on savings of water. It's roughly about 170 gallons of per metric ton of coal that we pull out of the ground, that we use 170 gallons to wash that coal. Now, we got to wash that coal before we burn it, right? So all of that unrecyclable water goes into what's called like a sludge pond, and that then sits there, evaporates, and it leaves kind of a toxic dust. One of the things that we focus on, because water resource is very important to me, as we see in areas of drought, is that savings of water. But the environmental offsets are very important. And I'm going to be honest with you, it tends to be a fringe benefit for a lot of my homeowners kind of moving forward. Now, stop renting your power and own it with a payback. It's real simple. Most of the individuals I know that come across our table are currently renting their power. And they're put in a position to where they are under the limelight of the ever energy growing sector side of your rates. That can be tough. Now, you're property tax exempt. You also receive a Fed 26% tax credit. In some states also offer that SREX program. If you work, as you know, you have to pay Fed and state taxes, and that's very important. And as we kind of move forward, those federal rebate programs are starting to diminish. This is the last year for the Fed 26%. And by next year, 2021 and 2022, it drops to 22%. After 2022, there's no subsidies surrounding renewable energy on the Fed side. So that's where those SREX programs may play a role for some homeowners and state users. Now, education is very important for us at One Planet Solar. We do quite a bit of donation systems. I'm going to just simply run through some of the installations, rooftop installations that we've done, just to give individuals a general idea of what some homeowners have done in the past with us. We roughly install anywhere from 75 to a little over 100 systems a year. We have a personal relationship with homeowners because energy management is very, very important. And you're going to probably hear a little bit of that from Jeremy Montgomery with Park County RMC. This is actually a system in Rockville that we install for a homeowner. Energy management is very important. Anytime that we can cut your energy usage in your home through basic energy management, elimination of phantom loads, timers on your hot water tanks, wrapping your hot water tanks, use of LED, light emitting diodes, that all has an effect on, what size system you would actually need. So I really encourage homeowners that are listening to, think about those things. Think about some of the easy things that you can do to address your energy demands. This is in Illinois. This rooftop solar array, we just completed it about 3 weeks ago, and this is at a winery over there in Brockton area. This is a gentleman that is a Duke Energy customer. This is what our typical ground mount for a homeowner that has a very big footprint. Mr. Cunningham's a wonderful person, but this is kind of gives you an idea of what a ground mount does look like for a lot of homeowners. This is a rather large one now, but this is, however, the type of ground mounts that we do install. And then we have other attributes. One of the things we work with is farmers, and farmers are usually, cattle, ranches, horses, cows. This is a top of pole mount racking system, another application. This is actually a grid tie battery bank backup system. And then different applications. This is an Morpheus roll-on adhesive type, and this is something that has been a role for us in the past with different types of solar panels that have come out. This is again an Morpheus. It's perfect for flat roof type applications. So thumbing through, these are just different types of rooftop applications. Again, we work very close with a lot of universities to put together educational type systems, and I think this is very important for students kind of moving forward. We got test systems with IU, ISU, Rose-Hulman, Centenary College, Texas A&M, and they're all just teaching systems. So without further ado, I would like to open things up to questions.
So I don't see any questions in the chat, but I have a question to kick us off. What is a common hurdle that people or organizations face when they first set up solar? Like, what is a hurdle that they're working with or trying to wrap their brain around?
I think the primarily the number one hurdle is financing. The upfront cost, which I certainly understand, and that's one of the things that's really changed for us. Is years ago there really wasn't too many banks out there that would loan money towards renewable energy systems, and that's changed. Currently for us, we offer a little over 98 different financing programs for homeowners, and it's just a 650 plus credit score. Another hurdle, believe it or not, is utility policy. What are the utility policies? As we kind of move forward, we run into utilities that their policies disenable homeowners to do certain things. And so really the two variables that I primarily are up against on a daily basis is solving the upfront cost for homeowners, along with the policy of the utility that we're tying into.
Great, thank you. There was another question. Is the 26 federal credit available for non-primary homes?
Yes, absolutely. So if you have a vacation home, if you have a remote cabin somewhere that you guys spend the weekend on, absolutely. The Fed 26% applies to that.
Did anyone else have any more questions for our speaker? Could you explain the SERC program for Indiana?
Absolutely. So once a state declares how they're going to get their 25% by 2025, they have what's called an REP, a renewable energy portfolio. Now, what that does when they have an REP is allows for in-state selling of your environmental offsets. So the utilities in that particular state can purchase those environmental offset rights from the homeowner and apply it to that 25% that they have to get by 2025. So Indiana, of course, has not declared how they're going to get their 25%. Illinois, our next door neighbor, has. And basically to give you an idea, right now my homeowners in Indiana sell out of state to Ohio and Pennsylvania. And it's fun. It's a simple market. It's like the stock market. It varies. We set you up. We end up being your administrator. We handle that for the homeowner. And they just simply, they'll have a designated broker through SREX Trade that just sells their environmental offset based on the production of their system. Illinois launched the most aggressive in the nation next to New Jersey. Roughly right now, when a state gets an REP, a renewable energy portfolio, it becomes what we call similar to a state rebate program. In Illinois, since they have an REP, a renewable energy portfolio, they pay upwards of 40% of the cost of the system to the homeowner. So it's a wonderful way to help, along with the Fed 26%. So it's a great way for homeowners to participate in a program. So right now in Indiana, it's our homeowners are selling to Pennsylvania and Ohio, which is a smaller market, but nevertheless, it creates an additional income for the homeowner that goes towards their payback.
Thank you. So we are currently at a little short of noon, and I want to make sure that everyone has time to have lunch. So if we have any more questions, you're more than welcome to send me an email, and I will direct them on to our speaker. Thank you for joining us, and I will see you next week for Wind Energy with Jeremy Montgomery. Thank you very much, and have a great afternoon.